you doing? This is Mike for Working Class Thoughts. So today's episode is going to be on the Osage Murders. And before I get into this, let me just say that it's going to be kind of a quicker episode to start off with, and there might be kind of repetitiveness because I'm using two different sources, so some of it might sound similar as the first. So without further ado, let's get more into this. In the early 20th century, the members of the Osage Nation became the richest per capita in the world after oil was discovered underneath their reservation in the northeastern area of Oklahoma, which is actually the Bartlesville, Dewey, Pawhuska, Bowery, and those type of areas up there. So they began to be mysteriously murdered off. This led to be the FBI's very first murder case. The land, it turned out, was setting above some of the largest oil deposits then in the United States history. In order for the prospectors to extract the oil, they had to pay the nearly $2,000 or so for leases and royalties. In 1923, the Osage received collectively what would be worth today more than $400 million. Many Osage tribal members lived in mansions. They also had chauffeur cars. At the same time, the Osage began to die under mysterious circumstances. The family of Molly Burkhart became a prime target. In the spring of 1921, Molly's older sister, Anna, disappeared. A week later, Anna was found in a river ravine, shot in the back of the head. Less than 2 months after Anna's murder, Molly's mother, Lizzie, had died, and the evidence would later suggest that she had been poisoned to death. Molly's younger sister, Rita, was so frightened by the killings, she moved with her husband closer to the city limits. In other words, closer to town back in those days. She had a maid that never was too far from Rita. Late one night in March of 1923, a loud explosion awoke Molly, so she went to her window and saw an orange ball of fire rising to the sky. Somebody planted a bomb under her sister's house, killing Rita and her husband, as well as her one trusted maid that she had that was never too far from her. You have to understand, Molly's family was not the only ones being targeted. Other Osage Native members were systematically being murdered. And several of those who tried to catch the killers were also killed. One attorney in particular, W.W. Vaughn, was thrown off of a speeding train. In 1923, officials counted the death toll had climbed to more than 24. The Osage Tribal Council issued a resolution demanded that the federal authorities investigate the murders. The case was pushed off on the Bureau of Investigation. At the time, it was just an obscure branch of the Justice Department. It was later named the Federal Bureau of Investigation, aka the FBI. They initially badly screwed up the investigation. They released Blackie Thompson, a notorious outlaw from jail. And wouldn't you know it, just their luck, because they were using him as an informant. And an ironic twist, he robbed a bank and killed a police officer in the process of robbing the bank. Thompson would later be gunned down himself as a result. So in 1924, J. Edgar Hoover was appointed to be the director of the FBI. He was only 29 years old at the time. That's right, I said only 29 years old. He was afraid of a potential scandal from the way the Bureau handled the investigation initially. I mean, that could undermine his dreams of building a bureaucratic kingdom, and he was later quoted saying. He started to become desperate. In 1925, he decided to bring a field agent named Tom White to take over the case. Now, Tom White was a former Texas Ranger. He was a very old-fashioned, old frontier lawsman. He put together a team. Really? Sorry, bear with me. Naturally including an American Indian. While being undercover, they followed the money to see who was profiting from the murders. One retired Osage teacher told the author David Gron that there is so much blood saturated in land of Osage and Washington County that nothing could take the blood stain from the ground. So this is some more research material, and like I said, if it sounds repetitive, I just want to say early on, I do apologize. So, early on, oh, and for the record, the last research material was taken from David Grahn, who's the author of Killers of the Flower Moon, The Birth of the FBI. So here's some more interesting things. Early on, all fingers pointed at William Hale, the so-called king of the Osage Hills. A local cattleman, Hale had bribed, intimidated, lied, and stolen his way to wealth and power. He grew even greedier in the late 1800s when oil was discovered on the Osage Indian Reservation. Almost overnight, the Osage became incredibly wealthy, earning royalties from oil sales through their federally mandated head rights. Hale's connection to Anna Brown's family was clear. His weak-willed nephew, Ernest Burkhart, was married to Anne's sister. The motive is clear. If Anna, her mother, and two sisters died in that order, all the head rights would then go on and pass to the nephew, and Hale could take control. So what's the prize, you might ask? $500,000 a year or more to come. Solving the case was a completely different matter for the FBI altogether. The locals were not going to talk. It's as simple as that. Hale threatened or paid off many of them. The rest have grown distrustful of outsiders. Hale also planted false leads that sent our agents scurrying across the Southwest. So the FBI agents got creative. While going undercover over a period of time, they gained the trust of the Osage Nation. They started building a case. Eventually, the nephew talked. Slowly but surely, others started confessing. They successfully proved Hale ordered the murders of Anna and her family to inherit their oil rights. Cousin Rowan for the insurance, and others had threatened to expose them. January of 1929, Hale was convicted and sent to the slammer. His henchman, hired killer, crooked lawyer, also got time. So where is my source for this, you might get? None other than the FBI.government. That's right. If you log into the FBI's actual website, you can actually get access to court cases that way. And you can get the whole court cases. I get a lot of information that way. So we're going to move on, because I want to touch up on this. There's actually a movie in the works about this case. The title is still unknown, okay, and the release date is unknown. The director is rumored to be Martin Scorsese, and the screenwriter is Eric Roth. It's going to be starring Leonardo DiCaprio. So, as normal, I normally do a little bit of a free spin, and as I said, this is only 8 minutes in. I already predicted that this is going to be a little shorter of an episode, and the reason for this is simple. It took a long time to give me the information I have, and there's just so much more to find, and honestly, there's not much information out there. Off the record, I do have some friends of mine that are actually Osage members, like tribal members. And they told me that you're never going to really get the whole story. They've told me bits and pieces how they felt, and they're really excited about the movie production being made. They're also very excited about the book that was released. It's very accurate to the case. And as I said, I think us being in the true crime community, sorry about the word punctuation. I really need something to drink. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyways, us being in a true crime community would find this interesting in the sense that it was the FBI's very first case. Now, naturally, as the research material stated, he was a little bit wary. And he was a little bit wary for a lot of reasons. One, there was some animosity, if I remember right. If I remember my history right, when he gained that position, there was some animosity against him because of his age being only 29 years old. So he really did not want to fuck up this case. That's what it boils down to. And it didn't matter what it takes. It just cannot fuck up. That's what it boils down to. Now, that's what that basically in a roundabout way said to me. Now, that's the reason why he chose who he did. When he chose to reinvestigate the case, when they were demanding, hey, when the Osage said, yo, step in. We need some help, man. You know, he had to include certain things. Sorry, I got mosquitoes biting me everywhere. I'm in my backyard, everybody. So, anyways, you know, he had to include certain people. So that's why he got that Texas Ranger. If anybody that knows Old West history knows, there's just nothing else like the Texas Rangers. If you want to find somebody back in the Old West days, that's who the fuck you went to. You got the Texas Rangers on it. I mean, hell. We all grew up on the show, right? Anyways. That's also why pun my little dry humor. That's also why he chose to put a Native American on the team as well. See, the Osage, they weren't wanting to talk to the white man necessarily. They didn't trust him. When David Grawn was trying to find a nice way to put what he said, what he really was trying to say is, quite simply, the tribal members didn't trust the white people, okay? They just didn't. They've been screwed over. I mean, I'm sure there's been a lot of bullying points up to this point than what I got in the research material. So I'm sure there's been, like, you know, attacks, fights, town disputes, you name it, it most likely happened. So, yeah, naturally, they probably did not trust them. And let's be frank about something real quick, too. Another reason why a lot of the locals wouldn't talk, the ones that weren't native, is real simple. The money. That's what it boils down to. A lot of people in the town had a problem with the Osage being so wealthy. In a time period in the United States history, that is unheard of. Let me put it like this. One guy I know who's an Osage member, he told me that when he was growing up and the elders would talk about this case and talk about stories passed on, he said at one time they were so wealthy that they would drive their cars, and when they ran out of gas, they just simply thought that it broke down, so they left it there, and they just went and bought another car. See, at one time, when the average American can only afford one vehicle, the Osage had 5 vehicles per every single Osage member. And just so you know, the trusted maid was a white woman. So most of the servants that the Osage people had were Caucasian, and their cooks were Caucasian. The people that drove them around, the chauffeurs, were Caucasian. In a very racist time in history, and let's be honest, in the Southwest. And quite frankly, at a time period when Oklahoma really wasn't that developed. It was still very much Native American land. If you know history, you know that to be a fact, okay? Let's not dispute that. There's just no way you can. I mean, literally, look at the name Oklahoma and what it means. You know? Anyways, so this case is very interesting because I see a lot of racism twist to it. I see a lot of scandal. I see a lot of history. This is the FBI's very first murder case, so they had to get this right. Because they already fucked up the case the first time. The informant got shot after killing the cop robbing a bank. I mean, fuck. You know what I'm saying? So they really had to put together something pretty damn quick, is basically what it boils down to, I think. And I really do want to say that I do hope this movie gets made. There's not a lot of history that's known in Oklahoma. And I want to use the word known for a very good reason. In actuality, there is a ton of history in the state of Oklahoma, the state of Kansas, Texas, and Arkansas. It's just not something that's commonly talked about. And there's a lot of things that go on out here that a lot of folks don't talk about either. Now, neither here nor there. So the fact that this is the FBI's very first murder case should be enough for the true crime community to want to learn more about this case. I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. I'm actually planning on purchasing the book myself. Where I used to work at, the author came and actually did a lecture. So that was pretty awesome. I didn't get to see the whole thing. I got to see bits and pieces of it. So that was pretty cool. And, you know, working at that place, I got to talk to people. I didn't get to talk to the author personally. Don't get it wrong. Don't get my words twisted. I didn't personally get to talk to him, but I know people that did personally get to talk to him or knew him. And the author's intentions are very good, and the book is really good. It's really well put together, and it's fast becoming a movie and movie production. And like I said, this episode is going to be really short. And if there's any problems with the audio, please let me know. You people watching, you know who I'm referring to. Let me know if you guys notice anything different that I need to work on. I'm trying to do something different. The reason why I decided to record this episode is because I want to be able to do my audio format and my video format at the same time, trying to kill two birds with one stone. So, at any rate, I really feel bad because I normally bring a lot more. I normally do about an hour. For my new listeners that are stumbling across this video, understand that I normally do roughly an hour to 65-minute long broadcast about each subject I do. The Osage Murders is a very, very old case, being the fact it was the FBI's very first murder case. However, it's still a very new murder case. And the reason why I'm able to say that is there was so much cover-ups during that time period when that murder happened. And I'm talking cover-ups from local people, cover-ups from the tribal people, cover-ups from the townspeople, the local law people, and cover-ups from the FBI as well. Again, he did not want no negative fucking headlines anywhere. And the last thing he needed when they were building railroads and Rockefeller was going through and doing all the oil stuff, which I'm going to be touching bases about at a later time. The last thing they needed was a Native American scandal, especially in that time period in American history. He was only 29 years old, but he was smart enough to recognize that scandal is no bueno for nobody. You know what I'm saying? It's just no good. So that's why I'm actually planning on looking into the case more. You guys can honestly probably expect me to do a part 2. I know I said it before, but honestly on this one, you're probably going to get to see me do a part 2. And there's another episode I did on my audio format. I'm just going to use initial MM, and I'm probably going to do a part 2 episode on that. I'm not even going to begin to disclose exactly what I'm going to do when I do that, or how I'm going to do it. I'm not going to begin to divulge any of that yet. But I am planning on doing a part 2 of that one. If you recognize letters, then you should be able to recognize the episode I'm talking about. I'm going to be doing a part 2 of that one because I've been finding out a lot more information. And I'm going to be doing a part 2 on this one because I really feel bad that it wasn't presented in a better way. I'm smart enough to recognize that. It's just there wasn't that much information to go on right away. And I mean, I sat there for a good solid 3 days off and on. And when I say sat there, I'm not talking like getting in front of the computer for like 15 minutes, looking at something and then jumping off. When I say getting on there and looking at something for 3 days, I'm hopping on for like anywhere between an hour to an hour 20 minutes, and I'm looking into different articles and different things I'm seeing. And honestly, most of the stuff that I got on the Osage Murders became repetitive. A lot of it just started looping itself and repeating itself, and it was like different words, but they're roughly saying the same thing. And so, being the fact that I saw so much information out there on the case that was really the same words as what David Gron did in his book, just reworded or done differently, I can honestly say that that book is probably going to be your best bet with finding out information. Now, if you want to see Old West style crime scene photos, you can go to the FBI.com or .gov, sorry. It's FBI.gov. And once you get in there, there's a search bar. It'll be in your upper corner somewhere. Hold on one second. Bear with me, everybody. All right. So when you log in there, there's going to be on the search bar, it's either going to be the middle or off to the side. And what you want to do is when you go to that, you type in, not the case number, but you type in the name of the case that you're searching. And on this side of your screen, you're going to get a bunch of search results with names, court docket numbers, and et cetera, et cetera. Then you can start going out and formulating which bits and pieces you want to include in your research. So I highly suggest that method. But like I said, even doing that method with this case, I did get a lot of the repetitiveness that David Gron put in his book. And honestly, hey man, I got to give it up to the guy. That is solid research. That is solid research. When it's extremely hard for you to find something that's not the exact same thing that somebody else has already done, it means you know this person did it, but you're seeing the same thing. They're just adding a little bit more into it or putting a little bit more into it, you know, and that means that the guy that originally did it, he did some solid research, man. And honestly, I can honestly say with this case, I do want to back up and say a lot of that is he spent a lot of time talking to local people in Oklahoma. And he spent a lot of time talking to the Osage Tribal Council directly. He had that kind of access. Certain people get access that other people don't. He had the access to go talk to these people directly. So he got a lot more information than what I was able to find. The information I was able to find was basically what's in his book, what the movie's going to be about. And that other article that I found interesting because of the fact that, yes, it was kind of the same thing, but it was different in a way because they went a little bit more farther with the number one prime suspect originally. And I liked how they wrapped it up in the end with the describing how they all basically fell like dominoes. Now, I want to say that the case technically is known to be unsolved. So that means that the person they originally had wasn't the killer. All right? So I want you guys to think about this when you're thinking about the Osage Hills, when you're thinking about the Osage Murders. I want you guys to be thinking about that. There's a couple things I want you to think about. Think about FBI's number one case, very first case. J. Edgar Hoover's very first case ever at the age of 29 years old. Then I want you to think about Native Americans being the wealthiest people in a very oil-filled, rough and tumble, Old West style town that it was back then. And I want you to think about the social climate to what it was. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of an Osage. And then I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a person that lived in the town. Just a regular everyday Joe working. Now, we all know the context of what I'm saying. I'm not justifying anything. By any means, it should not have happened. What I'm saying is these are points that I find interesting in the case. The social aspect of the time. Because of the social aspect, Hoover was terrified of the social aspect, okay? When I say social aspect, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Native Americans having more money than the Caucasians in the town. And not just Caucasians in the town. The Osage had more money than pretty much every American at that time. Okay? That means the Osage Native Americans as a tribe, each member, pretty much is up there with Rockefeller. Alright? That's how wealthy they were. So I want you to keep that in mind because when I do part 2, we're going to be touching bases on what happened to the Osage. How did they go from here to there? All right, to where they are now. But before I say that, please understand this. They are considered to be a very wealthy tribe still to this day. The Cherokees have them beat, but not by much. If memory serves me right, I believe the Cherokees are the number one wealthiest, and then the Osage are right below that. If memory serves me right. Hold on one sec. But I want to say that's accurate. Man, these mosquitoes are freaking killing me, y'all. And again, kind of off subject. When I said small town cover up stories, this is exactly what I've been thinking about. This is exactly the type of stuff I'm talking about. You have money. You have greed. You have cover up. You have the birth of a federal government agency. Prominent historic figure. These are excellent angles I'm looking for here. That's what I'm talking about. When I say send me something, that's the type of stuff I want to send. Unfortunately, because of the fact that the book has just been released not that long ago, and the movie's in production state, I wasn't able to find as much as I want. Am I one to give up? Anybody that knows me knows, hell no, I ain't. I ain't gonna give up no ways. That's just not my nature. I'm not one to run and do all that kind of crap. I don't run. All it means is, bear with me. Give me a little bit more time. I'm gonna do a part 2 episode of this. I can guarantee you that. The reason why I'm saying that is I wanted to do an episode because I've been promising people, bear with me. I'm going to be presenting something soon. Bear with me, man. And I know this isn't my live show that I've been hinting about. I know this isn't the live show I've been hinting about. But I will be doing stuff like this sporadically. So, and for those of you guys that are listening still on audio, that I just now heard that I'm talking to my YouTube audience right now. That's right. I forgot to tell everybody. So, Working Class Thoughts is a podcast. When I do my audio recordings, I'm also going to be recording my YouTube formatted videos. With that said, for me to touch bases on a statement that I made earlier, I will do surprise live episodes sporadically. People, just bear with me on it. It's going to come. When it comes up, it's going to come. It'll come. I just got to get right and figure out how I'm going to do it, basically. So, with all that said, this has been Mike for Working Class Thoughts. I know this is a lot shorter than what I normally would do. Like I said, I normally do 60 minutes, 65-minute episodes. I've even done as much as 2 hours at a time. So you can expect a lot more thorough episodes coming your way. Like I said, I'm in the process of researching for some new episodes. I'm also going to be doing a part 2 on this one. I'm just waiting on a little bit more information to come forward. I'm waiting on some email responses from people. So local people that live in Osage County that I've sent off emails for to get information about the case. I haven't heard back from. So I'm waiting to get information about that. And with that said, you can expect the part 2 coming your way on the Osage Murders indefinitely at some point. Now, moving on, I will be doing an episode very shortly also. I have a promised episode to somebody I'm going to be doing. That's still coming. I haven't forgot about you. You know who I'm talking about. So I think the next one I'm going to do, more than most likely, is going to be a free-for-all. I have it tied down to 3 choices. I haven't fully decided what it's going to be yet, but it's either going to be on the Girl Scout murders or the Molinder Ranch murders. That's most likely what it's going to be about. When I get done with those 2, I most likely will have a part 2 done for this Osage Murders broadcast. That I am hoping to have soon. So like I said, today's episode, did I get him? Got the little fucker. Look at that big ass. Got some big ass mosquitoes out here, man, let me tell you. Anyways, like I said, it's been Mike for Working Class Thoughts. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned. Again, be expecting more episodes coming your way, formatted a lot better than this. I apologize for the dead air again. I want to revert the fact I'm also talking to my audio listeners. You guys on YouTube, it's been a while. For my radio listeners, it's been a long time since they heard me. At least that is what Kyle told me. I'm looking at his email right now. Kyle, I would like to apologize to you. I admit there's been some dead air in my audio podcast format. I'm aware. And I have tried to drop hints here and there. I'm trying to grow the show, Kyle. We're still going to be doing audio like what you like. I know that the last email I got from you is said that where you're located at, it's easier for you to listen to it on a radio than it is for you to be able to watch something on a device. I don't know why or how, Kyle, but that's fine. But like I said, I'm back on doing audio too. I took about probably 2.5 weeks off. I started networking with some very good friends of mine. All I'm going to call them is what I call them, the Familia. Very awesome people. If you're lucky enough to meet them whenever I'm doing a sporadic live show, I highly suggest you talk to them. They're awesome people. With that said, Kyle, my channel is growing on YouTube, so I feel confident enough to announce that I will be doing audio on podcasts for all my internet station listeners. So trust me, Kyle, I'm not going nowhere as far as radio goes. Now, as far as YouTube goes, I'm also going nowhere. To my people that are started subscribing to my page, you can expect better formatted videos coming your way. I am currently working on that. As you have noticed, I'm sure, I'm changing banners. I'm trying to make the pages that I have look a lot more professionally done. A good friend of mine suggested that I do this, and this particular individual, whenever he suggests something, 9 times out of 10, if the matter is about this type of stuff, I'm going to listen to what the man has to say. Now, with that said, I took about 3 weeks off to spend some time with my family, get some episodes researched, send off some emails, phone calls, format my channels, format all my audio stuff, buy a new speaker, toy around with some different programs and learning all that kind of stuff. So that's what I've been doing for the past 2.5, 3 weeks. So yeah, it's been some dead air, and I do apologize about that. But Working Class Thoughts is back. Now, with that said, it is summertime. I'm not ashamed to admit the fact that I'm a very proud father of 3 kids. I have 3 children and a loving wife. So I'm very busy in the summertime. I also have a full-time job. So I'm going to try to do my best at keeping episodes coming as fast as I can for the next 2 months. The best I can. Once school season picks up, I foresee me doing this a lot more. You're most likely going to start seeing videos with an hour range, and most likely by the time that the school season started, I know for a fact actually, I'll have the content creator stuff figured out. And for anybody that's already on YouTube that's watching this, I'm new to YouTube. So other than, making a playlist, I didn't know crap about YouTube prior to 2.5, 3 weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? So bear with me. Like I said, as soon as I figure out how to actually utilize these apps I got to create content videos for YouTube, you're going to start seeing me do that a lot. You're also going to start seeing me doing what I consider more set down actual podcast segments. These podcast segments are like what I'm doing right now. I have this little device right here, and I'm actually recording live for my internet radio stations. As you guys are watching me, they're listening to me as well. Well, or they will be listening to me, I shall say. So just, Kyle, understand that's what's been going on. I've been going through a lot of stuff, both, personally, and I'm not going to get into my personal stuff. Another friend of mine suggested, another good friend of mine, actually, I should say, very good friend of mine suggested on his show. He said a couple things you should never do. Never go online drunk, never go online mad, and never go online sad. I told you, brother, I never forget anything, bro. You might see me stumble for a minute, but it's there somewhere. Anyways, like I said, music channels, I'm making playlists as we speak to format live shows better. I'm actually currently working on that. You're going to see a lot of them disappear. You're going to see a lot of them come back. I've gave myself until my son starts until he starts first grade. That's like when the school year first starts again. That's when all my social media platform, I have my own deadline set. On when I hope to have everything moving a lot more faster, and that's my ultimate deadline. I'm hoping it's like make it or break it, That's what I'm hoping for. So in the meantime, throughout the summer, you're going to be seeing me do stuff like this. You're going to see me pop up here. It's going to say Working Class Thoughts Live. It's going to be a live show. And that's where you can suggest music, suggest topics. That's where you can really communicate me directly. If you watch this podcast and you live in the state of Oklahoma, or hell, even if you don't live in the state of Oklahoma, if you just happen to be somebody that knows stuff about Native American history, and you said, hey, yo, Mike, by the way, I think you might have been off base on a couple of things. Please let me know. And I'm not saying that being condescending. I'm saying that because I legit want to know. One thing I've always tried to say, if you're going to do something, try to do it right. You know what I mean? Try to do it right if you're going to do something. You know what I mean? My father grilled that into me when I was little, along with the numerous other stuff. So, basically in a roundabout way, that's what I'm saying. So in the summertime, you can expect me popping up doing videos like this for my podcast, for my audio format as well, for the internet radio stations, my YouTube audio format for podcasts. You could also start seeing me do more stuff in live shows. And what I'm basically doing is I'm learning it. And I'm learning how that works. And I'm learning people. So expect to grow with me. So like I said, and I'm all about that, man. I'm all about growing together. So if you see something I have wrong that I've done in a podcast segment and you want me to get it right, as long as you're not a total fucking asshole about it or a dick, you know what I mean? If you don't come at me in an asshole way, or if you don't come at me being a dick or condescending, if you come at me just like a regular guy, you know, hey, yo, or a girl, if you're a female, hey, by the way, did you know in that episode when you said this, that in actuality, did you know that this happened? Or did you know that in a way that that didn't happen? And I'm going to be wanting to hear that. I'm going to be wanting to listen to you. I'm all about that, man. I'm all about that because nobody can be right all the time. Nobody ever is. You know what I mean? I want to meet the person that's right fucking 24/7. Somebody, please, let me find a man that's right 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Let me find that person. Let me find that fucking person. And then we'll start the quest for the fountain of youth. You get what I'm saying? Nobody's right all the time. But if you catch me saying something that's wrong, I'm not a dick at all, man. Just feel free to let me know, all right? And I'll be willing to hear you out. I'll be willing to hear you out indefinitely, for sure. And for my Anchor.com, my iTunes, my Google Play Store listeners that's still with me as I'm recording this, I want to answer another one real quick while I have time because my studio that I'm recording this on, it's a built-in studio. It's telling me I'm running out of time. For my radio listeners, Amy, I want to say that, sorry, I had to look down here real quick, but Amy, I do want to say that the reason why I have focused so much the past month and a half on the state of Oklahoma is, although most people that know me or find information out about me will see California, 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 and Nevada. I spent well over half my life in the state of California and Nevada, and that's why that would happen. However, I was born in the state of Oklahoma. That's a story for another day. It's an interesting story, let me tell you. Anyways, when I went to college and I started digging into crime and I started digging into anthropology and I started digging into all that, and I started digging into serial killers growing up. And, you know, you always hear bigger places. You always hear California, New York, Florida, even Texas. Louisiana, you always hear big places. No one ever talks about places like Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, these little towns that nobody thinks about, these little towns that nobody ever thinks about, the little towns with the welcome to FFA sign on them, those little towns. The little towns that you drive through and you're like, holy crap, I hope there's a gas station here. Those are the towns. Those are the towns that I'm interested in learning. And the main reason for that, like I just said, I was born in the state of Oklahoma. I have a lot of pride for both states. Amy, to answer your question, yes, I do consider myself from California. I moved to California my freshman year in high school, and I did not move back to the state of Oklahoma until I was in my late into my later 30s. So I do consider myself from California. But I also am from Oklahoma because I was born here, and my early childhood was spent here. So that's to answer Amy's question. I'm not too sure what country says not available, wherever you're from. But that's the reason why. Honestly, when you look into a lot of the smaller states, smaller cities, murders and cover-ups and stuff like that, let me tell you something, man. It gets really fucking interesting. It really does. Small town people are something else, man. And if you're talking about cover-up, they do a bang-up fucking job. You know, if you go to, like, I traveled a lot in my life, okay? Let me just tell you something. I've traveled a great deal in my life. And one thing I've learned is when you go into these little rundown motels or what I call greasy spoons, which is always the best fucking food. Jimmy, if you're watching, I have to say this. Jimmy, if you're watching this still, I highly doubt you are, but if you are, I know you taught me 5-star cooking, Jimmy, but we both know my stomach, it loves greasy spoons and bar food, my friend. But with that said, when you go into those places, all bullshit aside, some of those people, they have the greatest stories about their town. Good and bad and ugly. Beautiful, ugly, good and bad. No matter which way you look at it, those are the people you want to find, man. You don't want to find this snobbish, suit-wearing, blah, 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 blah type. on the, you know, blah, 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 blah. That's not who you want to find. You want to go into that smoke-filled bar that everybody's too scared to go to. You want to go into that restaurant that you're pretty fucking sure hasn't passed a fucking health inspection. You know, that's the local people you want to talk to. When I'm talking about small town folks, small town America, small town murder, small town cover-ups, occult, paranormal, all that stuff, that's the folks I'm after. That's the folks I want to hear from. Because them folks, let me tell you something, they will break down their town history and they got nothing but pride and love for their town. And it don't matter if it's good or bad. That's just something I've learned. I'm just going to throw that out there, man. So, sorry to get so passionate about that in a way, but I was raised in cities and I love cities. I would move back to a city. If it wasn't for my wife, I would probably move back to Sacramento. Actually, who the hell am I kidding? If it wasn't for my wife, I would move back to Sacramento. I would probably move back to either San Francisco, Sacramento, or Marysville. Yeah, Marysville, Sacramento, San Francisco. Probably one of those three places, though. But, you know, small town living's kind of grown on me, man. Like I said, I think it's because I was born out here. A lot of deep history, though, everybody. Lots of deep history. So, bear with me 1 second. So, I'm running out of time, everybody. So, like I said, this is a short episode. A lot of it's just me rambling. If you made it to the end, as I always say, I'm impressed. And if you did, and you got something else for me to hear, man, or something else for me to find, and it's something good, and it's something that you think that the whole world would want to hear, I don't even care if you're in the United States. I don't care if you're in Africa, Brazil, China, Belize, Ireland, Scotland, wherever. You got something for me you think that the whole world needs to hear? You think the whole world's going to want to know something about your town? Message me and I'll do a research material about it, all right? If I find it interesting. Summertime. My list is still pretty full, but I'm trying to work my way through it. I might have bit off more than I could chew, but fuck it. You know, do what you can do. Anyways, as I said, my internet radio studio thing is telling me I am at the time. So with that said, bear with me, everybody that's watching. With that said, this has been Mike for Working Class Thoughts. For my internet radio station listeners, you guys can expect an episode coming your way very shortly. It's going to be either on the Mullendore Ranch Murders or the Girl Scout Murders. Both of them are pretty historic. So you guys got that to look forward to. And with that said, this has been Mike for Working Class Thoughts. Everybody have a great evening. Peace, love, good vibes to all. To everybody else that's subscribed, you wonder where I'm at. Who knows? I might end up starting up this thing here in a little bit. I don't know. I'm fucking hungry. I've been thinking about burgers for the past 2 days. I mean, you know. So anyways, like I said, you guys expect more episodes coming your way. All right. I'm out. Peace.